So hello there and welcome back to another Night of the Movies video. I'm of course Spike Knight, and in these videos I love talking all things movies and TV and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's video I'm joined by a friend who's been on this channel in the past, and we are discussing his first thoughts to The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. He literally just watched it for the first time and we're gonna get his thoughts on it. So let's get into it, shall we? The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. So this film was of course released in Christmas of 2012 and had Peter Jackson, who directed the three Lord of the Rings movies, back at the helm directing this one. He was back in the directing chair for this movie, and of course this film has many returning actors from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You have Ian McKellen returning to play Gandalf, Elijah Wood returns to play Frodo in a brief cameo, Andy Serkis returns as Gollum, probably the best scene in the film, Ian Holm as old Bilbo Baggins, Hugo Weaving as Lord Elrond, Kate Blanchett as Lady Galadriel, and last but certainly not least you have the return of Christopher Lee as Saruman. And before we get into his thoughts on this film, I'm going to quickly give my thoughts. I mean, I've spoken about my thoughts on this film on this channel in the past at length, but I love the first Hobbit movie. I mean, I love all the Hobbit films. I haven't kept that a secret on this channel whatsoever, but I remember going watching this film back at the cinema in Christmas of 2012 and really not expecting much. In fact, I was expecting to hate this film. I was dragged to go and see it because my family were all huge Lord of the Rings fans, and I was a fan of the Lord of the Rings movies growing up, but I wasn't a huge fan, and I thought it was going to be a tedious watch. I thought I was going to absolutely hate this film.
You'll have been 10 years old.
Yeah, well there you go. Now people know what age I am.
You can always edit.
I've kept that a secret for such a long time.
You can always edit it out.
I really don't mind. But anyway, yeah.
You can edit it
I
out.
remember going to watch this film at the cinema and really not expecting much. Expecting to sit through a tedious 3-hour fest of things that I just don't understand. But instead, about 5 minutes into the film, I just found myself completely engrossed in what was going on. I was fascinated in what was going on. I was riveted by it all, and I loved every second of it watching it for the first time in the cinema. And even though I've noticed problems with the film, the things that I don't think are great about the film, you know, the things that are really starting, I've grown to dislike certain elements of the film as the years have gone on, and as I've rewatched this film countless times, I still love it. I still can get past all those problems I have with it because it holds such a nostalgic place in my heart, and it's the film that really introduced me into what the cinematic experience could be like, because I didn't really know what it could be like until I watched this film. And I remember going to watch it in the cinema and going, okay, I get it now, where people go to watch films at the cinema, and I had that experience with The Hobbit. It was an experience, and I still have those feelings when I watch this film now from the comfort of my own home. And I still had that feeling when I watched it earlier today with Lewis. I mean, when I say early today, literally about 20 minutes ago, if that, we finished the film.
The thing is, we started it ages ago, didn't we? Like mid-afternoon, but we kept pausing it
for various reasons. As you do when
we had tea halfway through.
Exactly, as you do when you're watching things from the comfort of your own home. You pause it and whatnot. So that is what we did with this Hobbit movie. Yes, I've given my thoughts, so now let's get into Lewis' thoughts. But just before we do, I want to say quickly, neither of us have read the book that this film is based on, and Lewis knew barely anything about this film before seeing it.
I do like reading, but I'll be honest, I always say I'm going to get around to reading a book, but it's just about finding the time.
I mean, I think that's the same with anything nowadays. But yeah, Lewis has seen the Lord of the Rings movies. We discussed that on the last video that he appeared on this channel, where we discussed about his first thoughts on Return of the King, the third Lord of the Rings film. But apart from watching the Lord of the Rings movies, he hasn't seen anything. He didn't know anything about the Hobbit movies prior to watching this film. So, Lewis, what are your initial thoughts on this film?
Well, I to be fair, I did have a good idea of what I may have been getting into before I watched The Hobbit, after having been shown the three Lord of the Rings films by Spike. I mean, I absolutely loved it. I think it's a great film. I thought it was a lot more light-hearted than the Lord of the Rings films. I liked the humour. It
gets dark as it goes on.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. But we've not seen a bad side of one of the wizards yet, have we?
No, Sam, and you don't really see a bad side to him in these three films. That's more just explored in the Lord of the Rings. Yeah. But there's a slight hint of that when he returns in the third film. That's not a spoiler, really. I've already told him he's in the third film. So yes, Saruman's in the third film. You get a hint that he's going dark, but that's really it. You don't really. There's a dark wizard in this film, though. Well, yeah, there's a dark lord that is explored more in the second two Hobbit movies.
And I take it that was one of Christopher Lee's last films, was it?
Yeah, well, I think that might even be in his last movie, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look into that a bit more, but
at least he ended on a high note.
It's one of his last films, yeah.
Ended on a high note. But, for sure. But, what was I going to say? It made me laugh more than the Lord of the Rings films did. I liked the humour in it.
With all the dwarfs.
I just felt really good when watching it. It was a nice... it felt a bit more... It felt a little bit more comforting than when I watched the Lord of the Rings films.
And you said it was slightly easier to follow as well. Yeah. So
it was just a more friendly movie for me.
There you go. He's a fan. So, Lewis, what do you think of the characters, the new and the returning characters? Who are your favourite characters?
Well, my favourite character is going to have to be the Hobbit,
Bilbo Baggins.
Bilbo, played by Martin Freeman. I also liked the character who kept on criticising Bilbo until right at the end. You know,
Thorin.
Thorin, is he the prince?
Yeah,
Thorin,
spelled Thorin.
Probably Bilbo and Thorin, to be honest with you. I quite liked the wizard in this film, Gandalf, who I obviously already knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked the characters. I cared about. You know, I actually felt like I cared about the characters, cared about what happened to them.
And there's new characters as the films go on. I mean, in the second film, there's quite a few new characters actually. Some that you briefly met at the start of this movie, like you see Thranduil, who is of course Legolas' father. He very briefly pops up in the prologue of this film, and then he comes back in a bigger role in the second movie and in the third film. But yeah, those are the characters you like the most coming out of this.
Yeah, well, they're the characters. When you ask me who your favourite characters, they spring to mind first.
So, are you looking forward to seeing Smaug in the second movie? Smaug the dragon, of course.
Yeah, I had a very brief glimpse at him at the end of the first one, obviously.
And I just saw him in the trailer for the second one, and I thought it was a trailer which gave away what Smaug looked like, because one of the trailers for this film did. In fact, a few of them did, but it wasn't the trailer that gave away what he looked like. So it was he's still got that to come. See the full look of Smaug and see him and hear him voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch. You know, Sherlock and Doctor Strange himself. He voices Smaug. I say voice Smaug. He actually plays. Maybe look at behind the scenes stuff.
Well, I've got that to look forward to. Maybe the next time I come round, we can watch this.
Yeah, and then the second Hobbit ends on a huge cliffhanger. I won't give away what, but I've got a feeling after watching the second one, you'll probably want to watch the third one very quickly. But anyway,
I want to watch the second one after.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, that one ended on a cliffhanger in a way, because they're all looking out into the open.
Quite literally a cliffhanger.
And then Bilbo
literally.
Oh yeah, quite literally. I didn't think of it like that. But yeah, Bilbo says, I think the worst is behind us. And every time I hear that line, because I've seen all three films about a gazillion times, I think, if only you knew.
Yeah, they're jinxing it for themselves.
It's one of those things in film, like whenever anybody says that, you just know it's not the case. You know, whenever anybody says that in a film, they say the worst is behind us. So I think we're smooth sailing from here. It's like, don't think you are. But anyway, how did you think it expanded? What do you think of how this film expanded on the world of Middle Earth, the world of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies? Did you like the new locations? Is what I'm kind of asking.
I think it expanded well, and I think the locations of this movie, the Hobbit, might actually be my favourite out of the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings films.
Well, you see the Lonely Mountain, which is the Dwarf Kingdom.
Yeah, and I loved it when they were on the snowy mountains. That reminded me of the Swiss Alps.
Oh right, yeah. I mean, just the way this film looks. I mean, they shot it all in New Zealand, like they did with the Lord of the Rings movies, and I think shooting it there, it kind of adds its own character to the film. I think you can really feel that when you watch either the Lord of the Rings trilogy or the Hobbit trilogy. We already kind of spoke about the performances, because you said you liked Martin Freeman as Bilbo Baggins a lot.
Yeah, I like Martin Freeman.
Was there any reason that he stood out
as an actor? I just thought he played the character really well. I thought he was a perfect choice for the character.
And you can see him going into Ian Holm, who plays old Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah, I think the casting in the film was very good. Well,
and I think also the reason. Yeah, and I think also the reason Bilbo works so well is because he is the heart of the film. You are literally placed in his shoes throughout the film, and that's the thing about the Hobbit movies. They're all about courage, all about the smallest of people making the biggest differences.
You're really made to feel like Bilbo as well, and in a way, you know, in a way you can relate to Bilbo. He gets doubted so many times, but then he proves himself, and then right at the end.
I think the whole trilogy's
he
like
finally
that.
Gets accepted.
Yeah, the whole trilogy's kind of like that, to be honest, and it's all about finding your adventure in life as well, going outside and not just staying in, thinking that the adventure's going to come to you. I mean, the adventure does come to Bilbo in this film, but he also goes out and he grabs it by the hand and doesn't let go. So I think that's one of the reasons Bilbo works well, and I do think Martin Freeman is terrific in this film. Some people criticise his performance. I think they're wrong.
I can't think why do people criticise his performance.
I think they just felt like he didn't fit into the world, but I think he does. I like that he adds this layer of comedy to it. I mean, there's a line he says in the second movie, which I won't give away because it wouldn't make any sense even if I did tell you it right now. And it's one of my favourite lines said by Eddie Keitel in any of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. But anyway, I love Bilbo, and he was probably the character who stood out the most to us so far.
Definitely.
In this trilogy, at least to you, because I've seen all 3 films, so there you go. Thoughts on how the characters were introduced, in particular the dwarves?
I thought the way the dwarfs were introduced was very funny.
The dwarfs showing up at his door.
Yeah, it was funny.
Is it cancelled? Is what cancelled? Oh, and it's not then.
Yeah, they were just introduced in a nice, light-hearted way, and I like how you're not waiting long to be introduced to them either. Yeah.
Which one? I think you've already kind of answered this, but I'll ask it anyway. Which one of the dwarves stood out to you the most? Was it Thorin?
Thorin and I think probably just Thorin, to be honest with you.
I mean, you get to know more of them as they go on.
Just saying.
Balin is the old one with the white beard. He's very close to me. He's good.
I liked him for his wiseness. The presence that he offered.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Bomber, who is the big dwarf. I don't like using this phrase, but for lack of a better phrase, the fat dwarf. I really like him, particularly with how he's used in the second movie. So I like watching him in the film. I like Belfer as well, who is one with the funny hat, who catches Bilbo when he's trying to escape the cave. He's trying to run away from them, and he says, "Where are you going?" I really like him. So those are the dwarves which have always stuck out to me the most. Quick little question here, won't spend long on this one. Who do you prefer, hobbits or dwarfs?
Hobbits, definitely.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I'm going to go with hobbits.
I thought he was going to say dwarfs just then, but I suppose...
That's interesting.
I mean, I'm glad he said that, because I always prefer hobbits. I like to think of myself as a hobbit. I mean, I've actually been referred to as... You said I look like Sam from the Lord of the Rings films.
Anybody who agrees with me, please comment down below if you think Spike looks like the Hobbit Sam from Lord of the Rings.
There you go.
That'd be quite interesting to...
But yeah, I'm glad he said that. I mean, I love the dwarfs in the Hobbit movies. I think they add a lot to the films. For me, the Hobbits have got to be better.
Particularly, I just like the Hobbits.
Particularly after you've watched Lord of the Rings movies, I think you feel a lot more affection to them.
I like everything about the Hobbits. I like where they live. I like the lifestyle. I like the character.
And you can actually go and visit there.
I like the humbleness.
In New Zealand, you can actually go and visit Hobbiton and go and. The set's still there, you can go and explore it, and there's a whole Lord of the Rings tour you can do. But anyway,
might do that one day.
Yeah, and I do think though maybe if I hadn't shown the Lord of the Rings films first, you may have said dwarfs there, but you may not have. Who knows?
Well, if I hadn't seen the Lord of the Rings films, to be honest with you, I wouldn't have known which one to pick.
Well, there you go.
I wouldn't have had them.
But he has seen the Lord of the Rings films, so there we have it. What were your favourite sequences in the film?
I like
what were the standout moments?
I like the battle sequence where the elves come and save the day. When in the Hobbit, when the dwarfs are cornered in the little cave.
Where they're being chased by the orcs.
Yeah, they've got nowhere else to go.
And Radagast helps
to get saved
as well.
Yeah.
He's the wizard who's very. He's always trying to save the animals.
Yeah, I like the start of the film where you get to meet young Bilbo for the first time and you see where he lives, and when all the dwarfs come to see him and visit, and they have the banquet. I like the scene where Bilbo and Schmeagol.
There we go. I was literally about to say that. Yeah. That's the best scene in the film.
Yeah, I love the scene where it's just those two together.
Riddles in the dark is the scene.
I like that. What else do I like? I like the climax of the movie, towards the end.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I would agree. Some people have said, and I kind of get where this criticism is coming from, some people have said that this film is kind of like it's trying to recreate Fellowship of the Ring, the first Lord of the Rings film, all over again. So you have the introduction with the prologue, like you do in the first Lord of the Rings film. You have the introduction at Hobbiton with the main character, like you do in the first Lord of the Rings film. You have the ending, which takes place in a forest, which is like the end of the first Lord of the Rings film. You have the whole stuff in the cave, which kind of demands Moria. In this film, it's the goblins. You know, you get some big similarities. Obviously, Rivendell plays a big part in the first Lord of the Rings film and in this movie. So some people have said that, and I get where they're coming from. And I'm not going to say I disagree with those criticisms, but they don't also bother me too much. Did they bother you? The fact that did it ever feel to you like this film was just trying to recreate Fellowship of the Ring?
It never occurred to me that
there
it was
you
doing
go.
that, so I'd say no. To be honest with you.
Okay.
No.
What did you think it was epic?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely up there on the list of my feel good movies that I'd be open to go back to again. And
Trust me, the same way about the sequels.
And trust me, I have to like a movie to want to go
Yes,
to
he
want to watch
does.
it again. So.
Yes, he does.
I'm not that picky.
No, it's not that picky, but
it's not that
sometimes, sometimes you watch a film and I can kind of tell when it hasn't, fully worked for you.
No,
Let's just say
it's
that.
not sunk in.
What do you think of all the goblin stuff? With the big goblin king, the ugly looking.
Were they not
thing.
orbs?
No, well, first of all, orcs, but second
Orcs,
of all,
I mean.
goblins. Yeah, it
Oh.
was. All the stuff that they were goblins. Yeah,
Yeah, I liked the goblins. I thought the goblins were good for the villains in the film.
yeah. I
Good
mean,
villain choice. Different to the ones that we had. Well, I think in Lord of the Rings was orcs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mainly? And in The Hobbit it was goblins, so it was different.
you do see orcs again in this film, and they have their own language. What I like about the goblins is how it expands on the world of Middle Earth. You haven't seen goblins, at least as far as I remember. You didn't see them in the Lord of the Rings films, and so having
different.
the goblins in there expand the world makes you think, oh well, there's something more to it. It's not just orcs in this world.
It makes you feel like you're not just watching Lord of the Rings again.
Exactly. What did you think of the ending? Which you kind of already discussed.
Yeah, I thought the ending was bang on. I've not got any complaints.
I mean,
I didn't expect the film to suddenly end just after we meet the dragon, but
yeah, that's literally what he said to me. Like, he turned to me as the credits started rolling and went, is that it?
Yeah.
It was like the way he turned to me at the end of Fellowship of the Ring, when we watched that for the first time. You see Sam and Frodo walking off to Mount Doom, and he turned to me and went, is that it? It was like,
Brilliant.
literally,
like
literally
deja
the
vu.
same thing.
It's
You're
deja vu.
Is that it?
Are you having deja vu right now?
A bit.
And
I'll tell you one thing that bloody annoyed me with it, watching it with him. Going back into the Gollum and Bilbo sequence, he just before Gollum comes on screen, Lewis turns to me and goes, "So the guy he says my precious? Is he in this film?" And I'm like, I literally went, "Just wait a second. Just wait." And literally a moment later, no exaggeration, Gollum comes on screen, and he's not. Okay, I'm not gonna give anything away, but he's not in the second two Hobbit movies. That's not really a spoiler. He's not got a place to be in those films. He's only in this Hobbit movie, and I was trying to keep it a secret. But of course, the moment before, and I was like, he's going to really like you when he shows him on screen, because I remember you really like him in the Lord of the Rings
I do
films.
like him.
So, anyway,
I think he's sometimes a little bit annoying, but I think it's
that's
meant to
the
be.
point. The point is you're meant to find him annoying, and you're meant to, love to hate him, that whole thing.
It's a love-hate relationship with him. Love him, but you hate him. So I was just going to add, but just before we meet the dragon, I thought the ending was perfect, how they're all on the edge of the cliff, and Bilbo finally gets accepted by Thorin. That was a good ending.
Yeah, it is a very good ending. And I think
ended on the high note.
I think they build on that
Positive
in the
note.
sequels, and it'll be interesting to see how you think their relationship grows in the second two movies without giving too much away. Anyway, what did you think of the music? Did you like the music of the film?
Yeah, I did like the music. I didn't love it like I do if I'm watching a film with a John Williams score, for example, but
It's fair enough.
still likes it. Or for me, Danny Elfman. I love his music.
He's a big
as well.
Danny Elfman fan.
Danny Elfman and John Williams are my two favourite composers. Probably followed by Michael. Is it Giacchino?
Michael Giacchino.
Michael
Michael Giacchino.
Giacchino.
Alan
Like
Silvestri.
like Alan Silvestri. Like a bit of Hans Zimmer as well.
Yeah, I mean, Hans Zimmer's like a lot of people's go-to. I like Hans Zimmer. We're going to get a whole different topic of composer. Maybe we can do a separate video on that in the future.
You've heard my favourite movie composers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've made no secret to this on this channel. I'm a huge John Williams fan. So anyway, but we could probably do a whole separate video on composers and talk about our favourite scores, but that's not what we're doing today. But just to note on the topic of this score, Howard Shore did it, and he also did the score to the Lord of the Rings movie, so it's great to see him return, and I really do think it adds that same sort of feel to the Lord of the Rings movies. And on the topic of the Lord of the Rings movies, how did you think this film compared to the Lord of the Rings movies, and in particular, the first Lord of the Rings film, The Fellowship of the Ring?
Well, I do think it's similar to The Fellowship of the Ring, but I didn't feel like it was trying to copy it when I was watching it. Like I said, and
did you like it? Did you prefer it over the first Lord of the Rings?
I prefer The Hobbit.
Okay.
Over the Lord of the Rings, as things stand anyway, after seeing the first one. I really enjoyed that.
That's a slightly unpopular opinion. I'm not saying it's the wrong opinion, it's your opinion, that can't be wrong, but it's a slightly unpopular opinion. A lot of people prefer Lord of the Rings films. I personally prefer Fellowship of the Ring over the first Hobbit movie, but you're not the first person I met who said otherwise.
I might disagree after seeing the next two films, and also I've only watched each Lord of the Rings film once. Usually, if I go back and watch a film again, I know
it does make a difference. Yeah, and you're not the first person who said, like I just said, who said they prefer The Hobbit over Lord of the Rings. No, exactly. I know one person who's quite close to it actually, who said the same, but I'm not going to give away who that is because they're not on this video and I don't want to give away their name, but I'll tell you that.
Is this someone we both know?
Oh yeah. We both know.
I think I know who you're referring to.
We both know. Live down the road. Anyway, there we go. Are you surprised that this film received a mixed reception when released in 2012, with many people who watched this film criticising it for its overuse of CGI and for its stretching out the story? To put some context there, briefly, the Hobbit book, he doesn't know this, the Hobbit book is a small book, and they made it into three-hour movies, whilst the Lord of the Rings films, each film is based on one big book. So how do you feel about that?
Well, for a start, I think The Hobbit is actually one big book, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's got like 400 pages.
Well, I heard it's the Hobbit book. Thick. Yeah, but I've heard that the first Hobbit book is shorter than the first Lord of the Rings book. I don't know if that's true. That's what I've heard, but people, when this film came out, they said that the story felt stretched out because they split these films into three movies, and they split the book into three-hour films. And so, how do you feel with the fact that it got criticised quite a bit when it came out, and it received a mixed reception?
I'm quite surprised that it got criticised, to be honest with you, because I
mean, each to their own.
Each to their own at the end of the day. But I really enjoyed it, and I feel like. I feel like the Lord of the Rings films had just as much CGI. So I don't get that. Like Spike said, each to their own at the end of the day.
I also think it didn't help. Exactly. I also think it didn't help that people were already kind of, from what it sounds like, and I wasn't really on social media I didn't really watch many YouTube videos prior to watching this one, but it sounds like a lot of people. I knew what it was at the time. Brilliant. It sounds like a lot of people kind of already made their minds up about the fact they thought it was going to be stretched out prior to watching this film, because again, the Hobbit book isn't, a terribly long book compared to other books that have been made into movies, and I think people had already kind of made their mind up on the fact they were going to say it was stretched out prior to watching the film, you know what I mean? And so I think people already had that criticism going into this film, and I do think it would have helped. And I do think, well, I'm not saying it would have helped, but I do think it makes a difference when you're somebody like me and Lewis who haven't read the Hobbit book, and we don't see that whole thing with it being stretched out. I personally don't really see that.
I've got a good point to make here.
Go on. Good points are very appreciated.
Well, that's good. I mean, look at it this way: it's like the Lord of the Rings films were the first of the kind, whereas the Hobbit is coming in with you're watching a Hobbit having already watched 3 Lord of the Rings films, which set the bar very high. So I feel like the Hobbit was disadvantaged. It's easier to criticise the Hobbit over Lord of the Rings because we'd already had Lord of the Rings, so it's like the Hobbit was like, right, we're up against the Lord of the Rings here. Whereas when Lord of the Rings came out, it was just Lord of the Rings.
And you're the first person to say that, to make that point. I mean, lest we forget
it's a valid point.
Exactly. Lest we forget the third Lord of the Rings film won 11 Oscars at the Academy Awards. It's the last movie to ever do that. It swept all the awards it was nominated for. It won all the awards it was nominated for. So, you're not the first person to make that point, and I think it's a valid point. I think people going into this movie in 2012 were quite literally expecting to have their brains explode the same way it did in like Christmas or November 2001 when Fellowship of the Ring came out. But the thing is, Fellowship of the Ring had already come out, and Fellowship of the Ring was, you know, it was pushing the boundaries in terms of filmmaking, of where filmmaking was at the time. Whilst The Hobbit, I'm not saying it doesn't do that, but it doesn't do it nearly as much. And I think people were expecting maybe a little too much when it came to this film, personally. Yeah. And I think now if you watch it, and you haven't watched it for quite a bit of time, I think it's enormously enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree. Well, maybe people who had watched Lord of the Rings went into the cinema ready to see The Hobbit and thought, right, I've seen Lord of the Rings, that was that good, so this needs this.
Yeah, I think people, and the thing is, The Hobbit is also a different story. I mean, I've read bits of The Hobbit, and the thing is, The Hobbit is a more playful, it's not an end of the world type story like Lord of the Rings is, and I think that's reflected well in the film. I think you could argue otherwise when you get to the sequels, but in particular with the first one, which is what we're talking about mainly in today's video. I'm not doing podcasts anymore. In today's video, you know, I think what you really get with this film is a more enjoyable sort of, I don't want to say roller coaster because I don't think it is, but a more enjoyable romp. You know, it feels like you're going on an adventure.
Yeah,
it's adventure.
I was just about to say. It feels like you're on the adventure with the characters. You're on it with them.
And again, it goes back to the whole thing, you know, we said with Bilbo, that the film it's his movie, he's the heart of the film, and you're literally put in his shoes early on the movie, and you know, let go of that.
You probably try, they try and make you feel like Bilbo, and like relate to him.
Exactly, yeah.
They try and make you be able to relate to him, like like it gets you thinking, when have I been in a situation like Bilbo is a... Like,
and take the adventure when you get the chance. So there you go. Me and Lewis, well, I've already spoken about this at length on this channel in the past. I'm a big fan of the first Hobbit movie. I actually prefer the second. I like the second a little bit more. So I wonder how you'll feel about that.
Well, I've still got that to look forward to.
But you're a fan of the first Hobbit movie. So I've said this on the channel in the past. I would give this film a 9 out of 10 personally. It's all subjective, but I absolutely love it. If you were to give it a rating, what would you give it?
I'd give it a high rating of 8 or 9 myself, because I can't. I can't think of any. I can't really think of right at this moment. I can't think of any criticisms of it off the top of my head. If I really sat down and thought about it, I might come up with something.
Well, of course, your mind might change when you watch the second and third films. But again, as of now, he's only watched the first movie.
Yeah, it was good. I don't know why, but the first Hobbit film, it kept reminding me. It kept making me think of like Indiana Jones for some reason.
Oh, there you go.
You know, just
isn't a bad thing when it comes to him.
No, definitely not. I am one of the biggest Indiana Jones fans around. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I feel like my Indiana Jones is like your Star Wars, like
exactly. Yeah, like in a way, my Lord of the Rings.
You're in love with Star Wars. I'm in love with Indiana Jones. But what I was going to say was, it made me think of Indiana Jones, just like the adventure feel to it. Like
exactly. I mean,
remind me of that.
And I think that is carried on very well into the second movie, and and I think it's ended well in the third film. But I think the third film, without going into too many details, it feels more like a conclusion rather than its own story. But we'll talk about that more when we talk about the third film on this channel in the near distant future. But until then, guys, we're both fans of The Hobbit, an unexpected journey. And like I already said, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I said that in the channel in the past, and I've said that on this channel in the past, and you'd also give it about...
I'll give it a 9.
Oh, there we go. So both getting a 9 out of 10 from us. So that is it, guys, for today's video. If you have seen The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, please let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts on this video as well. And if you haven't yet, please click down below and like and subscribe on this video.
Yeah, make sure you do that.
And I look forward to many more videos coming very, very soon on this channel. As what he said, thank you so much for watching or listening to this video.
It's been a pleasure for me to join Spike again.
And it's been a pleasure having you here. Hopefully have you here again soon for the your reaction to the second Hobbit movie, The Desolation of Smaug. But until then, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys again soon.
Thanks for watching.
But bye for now. Bye.